Welcome back to the Realtor Diaries podcast, episode 1, season 2. My name's Kim Jacobi. I'm with the Jacobi Team at Century 21, and with me is Elijah McGowan, also with the Jacobi Team of Century 21.
We are your go-to Northern California realtors. If you have a real estate story that you'd like to share and submit to the podcast, you can do that at therealtordiariespodcast@gmail.com. That's our email address where we'll accept any stories you'd like us to share. That's therealtordiariespodcast@gmail.com.
And today's topic is a day in the life of a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to talk about like what we typically do. I think real estate is one of those careers where every day is different. And depending on what your personality type is, one realtor's day can look different from another's realtor's day. Some people get up and go to the office and they arrive at the office every day at 9 a.m. and they leave at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And that's like, they do that every Monday through Friday. Like it's a regular job.
And that's honestly a really good tip I got from when I first started doing real estate was just treat it like a regular job because it is your regular job.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost that like at some point in between my start and now, but I've gotten a lot back into it recently.
It's so easy to do because we don't have a boss. We have to self-motivate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what is it? You suggested something very important for this episode. Since you don't have like the typical like realtor schedule anymore, you had me like kind of journal what I go through on a daily basis. And so I got a couple things to talk about.
Awesome.
The first thing is a pretty recent change, but now usually when I wake up and after I'm pretty much ready for the day, I go and look at the MLS, which I hadn't been doing.
That's like what Emmett does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll look at the MLS while he's drinking his coffee.
Yeah. And it was either a coaching call or or scripting or both. And and Emmett, I was on the phone with Emmett and he was like, yeah, you should just open it in the morning because that's our inventory. That's our store.
That's right. We got to know our product.
Yep. And that's where our people go to shop. And so that's when I look at my notes, that's most every day is MLS first. And then I call leads or text them. So some days I get really nervous on the phone and I think maybe it's an anxiety thing, but I'm either calling or texting or both. Hopefully both.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, there's that. And then I've been really hammering the open houses. Mm-hmm. Like when I have a weekend I can do open houses, I usually do 3. And this week's a holiday weekend, so not as many.
Yeah. Are you doing open houses this weekend?
No, I did a really good one last weekend.
Yeah.
And then I was out of town the weekend before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I recently closed on an open house.
I know. That's never happened to me in 11 years.
Yeah, like I sold the open house that I held open to a person that came in. That's
so rare. Yeah.
So I've heard. But yeah, I feel really fortunate to have done that open house and it makes me want to do more of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case you don't know how it works, basically anybody that has a listing that's for sale in our office or in our company, if they can't have an open house for their own listing, then they'll open it up to the office for anybody else that wants to. And why would we want to do that? Well, because that's a great place to meet people who are looking to buy a house.
Absolutely. And getting back to my day, so we have MLS, and then I'm talking to like new leads, and then I'm usually working on admin. If I have any deals going on, I'll make sure the files are correct and double check the like live forms that our office checks and needs.
Yep. Paperwork.
Yep. Plenty of paperwork.
Yes.
And then any free time I have, I try to spend on education.
Yeah.
Like this week I did a dive into specifically wineries.
Oh, cool.
Really, really big where I'm from in Mendocino County and Sonoma County further south.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of my hopes in real estate is to own/sell wineries.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, just because it's probably the first thing like 3 or 4 years ago when I was like had an inkling I might want to do it.
Yeah.
The winery down the hill from my mom's house was for sale and it was like, oh, what is it? It was like 100 and something acres, like maybe 200 acres of just grapes.
That's
And I
awesome.
was like, holy crap. Like, what is, like, how much revenue does that drive? What's
Right.
the land itself worth without the grapes and then with the grapes? And there were a lot of factors that went into pricing and like the finances behind it, because they're usually multi-million dollar deals that you can't really do with traditional financing.
Right.
And anyway, not to talk about grapes all day, which maybe another podcast episode will be about
Oh,
it.
that would be so cool.
Yeah, like an agricultural real
Well, did you
estate.
know Dan Jacuzzi owns his own winery?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jacuzzi Winery.
I know.
It's
So
really cool.
he probably knows a few things about running and also selling wineries. So
That'd be cool to talk.
I know.
But yeah, that's my free time should be spent on education if I can help it. And if I'm tired, my free time's on my phone usually,
Yeah.
because that's an easy trap to fall into. But the majority is on like education or looking at the MLS and like kind of crafting deals in my head, which feels weird to say out loud, but I'm always like, am I dreaming of the next deal, I suppose.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So your schedule is very different.
Hmm.
And so do you want to talk about like how yours has changed in the last year?
Yeah, for sure. So let's see, this is now the beginning of July 2025.
Mhm.
So back in February, I was able to get hired by the Century 21 Select Real Estate as an agent development manager. And so now I work, like I have a 9 to 5 job, Monday
Yeah.
through Friday. I have to clock in and clock out. And I do that at the Orville office. And
Yeah.
basically I'm there to like answer questions. And I recently started journaling what I do every single day.
Nice.
Yeah, because basically because of this episode, I was
Awesome.
curious,
Yeah.
about,
And you like teach classes.
Yeah.
You're there to support the agents.
That's right.
And,
So
yeah.
now I teach 2 classes a week.
Mhm.
And so there's prep for that. And it's on Zoom and it's open to the whole company. So sometimes I'll have like a couple people, sometimes I'll have like 15. It's really, I like that part a lot.
Yeah.
Any agents that are in the office, in my Orville office, if they have a question, I'm there for them. And I I probably get like 5 to 20 questions a day that I answer.
Oh yeah, like texts and emails.
Yeah, calls, texts, in person. And the questions, I would say I can answer about 50% of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But the other 50% I have to look into and get back to them. And
Oh, okay.
so I'm learning a lot. I do, I can still do some work for the Jacobi team.
Oh yeah, you're
Marketing and database.
I know
entry
you're always doing really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention it, but a large part of my week this week was learning our new CRM tool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting to learn a new tool like that.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, you've been taking on like really heavy load in that
Yeah.
regard, and like going through, like having meetings with the people from the company that we're using,
Yeah.
and making sure you know how to use the whole system. It's been really great.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in the kind of business like we are, where the people we meet is our bread and butter,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yep.
got to have a way to keep track of people. I can't remember who did the study, but some business, or this is like more of a business stat, but they say
Mhm.
it's way more expensive in business to bring in new customers than it is to nurture current customers and
Yeah.
get current customers to come back.
Absolutely.
And in real estate right now, they say it's about 14 years when a person buys a house. On average, it's about 14 years later that they will then need to sell their house.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be 7 years
I
was
know.
the average, but times have changed with interest rates, and so
That's a really long figure.
it like doubled. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Interest rates doubled, and so that figure doubled, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it does make a lot of sense.
However, that customer that we helped buy that house, they have a whole sphere of people around them that they know.
Yeah.
And so if each one of our customers can at some point pass on a referral to us, then it's worth keeping in touch.
Yeah. The figure I heard, I think it was from one of our top producers at Select Group. And I think they said that every client that like you close with and have a relationship with is worth $100,000 in commissions like over your career
Wow.
if you keep in touch with them.
Yeah. That is definitely dependent on your average price point.
Absolutely.
So if we're talking like Tahoe, that number is going to be way higher.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, that's a good stat. But yeah, I mean, I've been married to Emmett we're going on our 9th year. And so he's a busy realtor. He's on the phone just for hours and hours and hours a day.
Yeah.
I've never really been a big phone person. Like I'd rather go visit my mom in person, for example, than call her up.
Fair.
So typical day in the life for Emmett, I noticed, like I said, he starts his day off at the computer checking the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And then
looking at that inventory.
Yeah. And then he usually has some kind of an appointment that he has to go to, whether it's a showing or meeting an inspector or getting some kind of paperwork signed. And then he's on the phone for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I should be aiming for.
Right.
Constant calling.
Yeah.
Or receiving calls even.
Yeah, because I mean, he's on the phone for various reasons, but he really does try to reach out to his past clients and people who he hasn't talked to in a long time, just to keep that relationship alive.
Yeah, it's just a check-in. It's not like we're trying to farm him for points or whatever.
I know.
It's
and
just,
he's so good. He's just so chill, He'll just be like, hey, what's going on? What's new with you?
Just here to check in.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, definitely he's probably really good at that. Do you think it's time for our next segment?
I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So our next segment is new to season 2 of the Realtor Diaries.
We're really excited about this.
Yep. And so before this, we took it to the streets, and now you'll get to hear what we learned.
What do you do for your job?
I source materials from China for my customers in the UK.
What do you do for work?
I work as an IT consultant.
Yeah.
I consult big businesses like Fortune 500 companies with their IT solutions. Work mostly remote, but sometimes I travel for work.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. What do you do for your job?
I am a social worker. I work in social services for the welfare office, where people go to apply for healthcare, Medi-Cal, CalFresh food stamps, and cash aid or general assistance, homeless assistance.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And we had one more interviewee named Hannah, and she was with the California Conservation Corps.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had some audio issues as it was our first time doing the whole interview process.
Oh, man.
And so I will be explaining what she said. Hannah, if you're watching, we're so sorry. But yeah, she works for the California Conservation Corps, and they go out and make sure that a lot of the work is make sure things are cut back from things like nature trails and highways.
Yeah, she was like this adorable 5'2", like buff arms, because all she does all day is use chainsaws and weed whack. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's hear the next question.
What's one thing that you do every single day, no matter what?
Check my email.
First thing I do in the morning is I check my calendar to see what meetings I have, what deadlines I have, or like what deliverables I deliver today, and go from there.
Every single day I talk to someone who is in distress, someone who is, really, really at their wit's end, or, it's kind of like talking to me or coming to the office. It's kind of like make or break their situation, their homelessness, their day, feeding their children, paying rent, just lots of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
And what Hannah told us is that every day at the Conservation Corps, they load up their trucks with like chainsaws and weed whackers, anything they need to go complete the job where they're going.
That girl was so hardcore.
I know.
Yeah, so one thing I do every day is check my email.
Yep. I know. We had a good laugh.
Yeah.
And I check my email every day.
Yeah.
But there was one day this week that I didn't check it first thing in the morning, and it kind of came to bite me.
Yeah, I know. In our job, you gotta check it like.
I missed one, and I was unsure if like a meeting got scheduled.
Uh-huh.
It was the signing.
Oh,
I
right.
really hope that got done without me.
You're
But
going to turn
yes.
into like, so Emmett, every time he hears his phone buzz, he looks at it.
Yes.
Every time.
I'm close. To
Yeah.
But I have friends who blow up my phone at any hour of the day. Like you've
Yeah.
been on calls and stuff. I'm like, stop texting me because they don't have anything important to say usually.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's listen to the next question. All right, if you could eliminate one task from like your daily board, what would you get rid of?
Oh, probably all the meetings, unnecessary meetings.
Just
if
not
a
meeting.
meeting can be sent in the email, do it. There's no reason for like 20 people in the meeting and they don't need to be there.
Checking emails.
If you could eliminate one task from your regular workday, what would it be?
The red tape.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I like that.
And Hannah's answer to that one was she'd rather not do weed whacking anymore. Get rid of that task. Either let someone else do it or let the grass grow, you know?
Yeah, I don't blame her on that one. 8 hours of weed whacking a day.
Oh, and like all times of the year, all weather.
So what would you eliminate?
If I could eliminate anything, it wouldn't be like all calls, but the calls to people that don't know me and I don't know them, like a cold call.
Yeah,
Even if they like signed up to our website,
right.
I'm like, we don't know each other, but I'm going to call you.
Those can be awkward.
Yes.
Yeah, I would eliminate having to clock in and clock out for my job.
Oh yeah, that's.
I had 20 years of working for myself, not having
Oh
to
my
clock in and
gosh.
clock out. And like, I'm finally getting used to it after 4 months of working
Yeah.
as agent development manager.
I remember us recording season 1, and like in between some recordings, you were like, "Oh, I gotta clock out
Yeah.
or because we're running long." Yeah.
Right. All right, let's check out the next question. Last question. If someone were considering a career in your field, what's one piece of advice that you would give them about a typical workday?
Listen to your customers carefully.
If someone's considering a career in your field, what's one piece of advice you would give them before they start?
Yes. To get into like this big four type of consulting, you will have to network very well.
Okay.
You have to reach out to people, ask for referrals, and apply. Be ready for the interviews.
You'd recommend they get like ready for that before starting?
Absolutely, yes. Look into it to make sure you're ready for the consulting life, and be very prepared for the job.
Last question. If someone was considering a career in social work, what advice do you have for them?
It requires an open mind, lots of patience, consideration, checking yourself at the door, because a lot of times, I mean, like I said, you're the difference between them and being fed or whatever. So, I mean, they do come and unload, and you can't take it personally. You can't. You just have to just help them, and sometimes be a sounding board and just a punching bag. And it's okay. Just smile and help them out. It can, I mean, everybody's walking around. What is that saying? There's like a really good saying that you never know what people are going through. So,
Yes.
Being kind and smiling and offering help, even when they're mad or it seems like they're mad or angry at you, you just smile and do what you can. And sometimes it can make a big difference.
And Hannah's tip to anyone wanting to join the Conservation Corps was to take the like advertisements showing how glamorous it might be with a grain of salt, and to understand that you'll be working hard 8 hours a day, like we said earlier, all weather types, and that it's probably not as fun or glamorous as it might be portrayed to be, because it is a job.
Yeah, physical
Yes.
labor. It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
And we want to talk about some advice on becoming a realtor. I don't feel super qualified for that, and so I'm going to pass it to my co-host.
I think you could definitely give advice, but I'll say that if you're thinking about becoming a realtor, one of the biggest things is to have a good savings account, have a lot of support from your family and your significant other.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Get out of your comfort zone, because you're going to have to talk to people that you don't know. And the other thing is be ready to self-motivate and work hard.
Definitely.
Yeah. And now it's time for the news. So with today's topic being a day in the life of a realtor, we thought that we would go through all kinds of different tools that we use as a realtor in our daily activities and
what task it might be associated with.
what task. Yeah.
Especially, we're doing this in kind of a free-form manner because every single day is different.
That's right.
I spoke about like kind of how my structure was this week, but that's only really because I was able to look back and be like, oh, okay, so it just so happened that this week I was able to open the MLS every morning.
Right.
Like maybe a different week I have a meeting lined up every morning or
Yes.
anything. And so we're going to talk about it in more of a free-form manner, starting with calls.
Right. So when you make phone calls, you're talking to all kinds of different groups of people, right? You're talking
Absolutely.
to leads that you may have gotten, people you don't know, and you're trying to get to know them. Your sphere, people you do know and they know you.
Yep.
And then you're also calling for setting up showings or setting up inspections for your escrow, talking to so we just, in general, we call it escrow calls.
Yep. It's like you're working in the business versus on the business.
Yes.
But I mean, it's really important for this particular task to have a CRM. Like
That's
having a central place where you keep all your people, they're categorized correctly. No matter which one you use, they all have their various tools and features, but having one is imperative.
Because you need to take notes on what was said. When you've been in the business as long as we have, and you start to get hundreds of people in your database,
Yes.
you're not going to remember who you talked to and when. And so a good contact management software program is going to help you stay organized and not have to, and not let anybody slip through the cracks either.
Yeah, I've noticed that even just having like a couple notes on a conversation, like just the smallest thing, they'll completely spring to mind and I can remember like everything about them. But it really takes that spark because they're up here, but if they're also on there, it's easier to remember.
That's right. And along with our CRM is having a website so that when people out there who are shopping around on the internet, they see a house they're interested in on your website and they register, they put their information in, they'll automatically go into your CRM and then you get a notification to call them.
Absolutely.
So that's huge for our business.
Yeah. And a particular topic that I wanted to talk about was education.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that's kind of what for me is the most fun way to spend my free time that's business related.
Yeah.
Like is learning new things or learning things that are current. And so just continuing education, learning about a new topic, being able to expand your business in that way. It's really like the little pebbles that count.
Yeah. And there's no shortage of sources for education.
Yeah. I would start at NAR just because that's a really good central location that realtors all have access to.
So another source for education for us is our Century 21 has like Century 21 University, which is a whole online robust classes, webinars, things like that. Plus our local company, the Select Group, has trainings.
Yeah, Select
every
Academy.
Day. Yeah.
So, I know. I really like the Friday Top Producer with Eric Hatch.
Oh yeah.
I probably said it on the podcast before. I love that class. I wish there was one today, but it's
4th of July.
Yeah, that's when we're recording.
Yeah. Another topic, let's think. So one of my favorite parts of the job is looking at houses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so tour, where agents go around and tour houses that are like open for a certain amount of time on a certain day. But at any given time as a realtor, if you kind of want to just go out there and see what's available, you can schedule or pop over to vacant properties that are for sale
and view them. Yes.
And that just helps us keep tabs on what's on our, in the market, what's in the inventory.
I think tour is really important because you want to get to know other realtors.
Yeah.
And you want to see like what's fresh on the market. And that's a really easy way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's also, of course, it's more fulfilling to be able to be showing someone the property.
That's right. Yeah.
That's probably one of the most fulfilling parts of the job until you like find the one they want. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the one. That's like number one probably.
Yeah. And this job, it's not like you're like, okay, every week I'm showing houses 3 hours a week.
Nope.
No, it depends on who, like if you have a buyer that needs to buy a house because they're starting a job in, you know, 2 months, then all of a sudden 1 week you're showing houses for like hours and hours. And
Yes.
the next week, hours and hours.
And that could change on price point, on how much time they have, on
Yeah.
how much. I mean, if you don't have enough time, you need to be making some time.
That's right. And then sometimes you'll go weeks without showing a house.
Yep.
That's just kind of how the job is.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's another topic or, you know, task that we do in our job?
A lot of tasks. I mean, I spend a lot of time preparing for various things, especially presentations.
Yep.
For buyer consultations and listing presentations.
Mm-hmm.
I spend quite a bit of time
And what's your
just preparing.
favorite tool to use to prepare those?
So we have our local Century 21 tool, Moxie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that tool to use.
Yes.
But I know you use Canva for like all those things.
I love Canva.
Yes.
But see, I'm a creative, and I think in another life I would have been in marketing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like to create my presentations using Canva because you can. We do pay for the pro version of Canva because then it's unlimited. You can use any graphic, any photo, anything you want to use.
Absolutely. You've probably seen some Canva work, Kims, if you're on the podcast.
Yeah.
You've definitely seen it.
Yeah, but Moxie does a good job, and it's completely branded to Century 21, and it stands out against those who are just doing an MLS presentation.
Yes.
You know, if you can use a tool that not a bunch of the other local realtors are using, it's just going to help you to stand out.
But that's also a good reminder is that the MLS has a lot of tools that are very helpful.
Yeah.
And I actually found a lot of value in using our local MLS market analysis tool.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very fresh. It's very editable and clear / easy to use. And so thank you for the reminder. The MLS is a great tool to use if you don't have anything else or anything better.
And I took some of the pieces from that MLS CRM and I just recreated them in Canva.
Exactly. Yep.
So just to make them look more branded just to our team.
You gotta take inspiration where you can.
Yeah. One more task I wanted to hit on because it's a big one is knowing your market, studying the stats of the market because people ask us all the time, how's the market? And
there's a lot of different ways to look at it.
That's right. But you got to know the numbers. You got to know it for our local market. Like you can't just be a realtor and not know your stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how many houses are on the market? Has it slowed down? Has it sped up? Are there still multiple offers? Mm-hmm. Are listings still selling for over, or are people having to drop the price?
Is this like spring sales portion of the year true for your market?
Right. Is the summer slow this year, or is it robust? And so the tool we use for that is the MLS. And then on the MLS, one of the tools that I really like to use is called InfoSparks. Mm-hmm. It's basically taking data and putting it into easy to understand.
You'll have to show me how to use it because I've opened it, but I have not been able to use it very well.
I love InfoSparks.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the first episode of season 2 for the Realtor Diaries. And we're hoping for a robust season 2.